CitySquare is a nonprofit here in the Metroplex that addresses poverty and the unhoused population. And this week, Wednesday, June 14th, they're going to be teaming up with nationally recognized FitMenCook author Kevin Curry with a mission to prove that health and wellness belong to everyone. Now, Kevin, he is a regular contributor to the Today Show, cookbook author. He has an incredible popular YouTube, over 600,000 subscribers. His app, FitMenCook, that was named the App Store Best of 2015. Today remains one of the top 3 food and drink apps in the US and the UK. Just an immense opportunity for families here in the Metroplex to get connected with them. He joins us now in the KRLD Zoom room to share the importance behind this goal. Kevin, thanks so much for the time.
Thanks so much for having me.
So teaming up with CitySquare to talk about health and wellness, you say specifically that health and wellness belongs to everybody. Do you believe that there are people who don't feel that they're worthy of significant health and wellness?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would say if they are worthy of it, but I think that for so long, especially in like recent times, that what it is to be considered healthy is actually pretty cost prohibitive. And it's actually become much more of an elitist thing. And so when I say that health and wellness belongs to everyone, it's just that I want people to be able to see themselves wherever they are, wherever income status they're at, that health and wellness is attainable to them. And so this is much more about changing the rhetoric, changing the paradigm about what it means to be healthy.
There are a lot of places in North Texas that are considered food deserts where they don't have easy access to quality foods. Does getting rid of a food desert help with that mission?
Yeah, yes, it does. I think that's just like one part of it. Whenever you think about the term food desert, it's coined just by like there are several different definitions of what a food a desert is, but access to that affordable and nutritious food, I think is that's the main component there. That is one piece to helping to to getting people to have access to that, but also it's just about being able to afford the food that they actually have, and so that's where the food pantries kind of come in as well. Being able to subsidize grocery bills for people. And then also with the way that I'm working with CitySquare is also just showing people what to do with those ingredients. I think that when we think about health and wellness, and especially within the Black and Latino community, we understand food like very well. And I single out those 2 communities because when you look at the rates of heart disease and diabetes, and also whenever you look at as well the communities that are affected by these food deserts, by and large, you're going to see Black and Latino communities. And so historically, we know flavor, we love food, and we know how to cook with it, like doing that. But it is much more about how to take what we know, taking that knowledge of it and making it a lot more like nutritious for us, showing how that you could take some of the foods that we grew up with by tweaking certain ingredients, by working on that portion control, we can actually make foods work for us and for our health.
I'm so curious about that. I'm so glad you brought that up, Kevin, because the KRLD listeners, they know that I've been on a health journey for the past year and a half. And a lot of them know that I am Latina. As an Afro-Latino, I've got to say, with your impact in the community, with Black and Brown communities, how important is it that culture remains in our meals, but in a healthy balance? Because I know that I talk to my Cuban and my Mexican parents, and it's like, if you try to give them just like chicken breasts and, broccoli, they're like, no, we don't eat that. That's not our culture.
Yeah,
but culture is very important with making meals that people want to eat.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I mean, first off, you got to be able to taste the food too and actually like it, right? That's the most important part in having anybody turn that corner to adopt a healthier lifestyle. So yes, showing us how to go ahead and do those things is super important. You mentioned something, so one second, I'm getting a little brain fog. You mentioned something that was really important, and goodness, I'm so sorry. Can you repeat what you just said? Because I wanted to touch on.
Yeah, no problem. Just, that the culture, having our cultural aspects in our food, but yet still having it be healthy. That's a very important key.
Yes. I was sitting down with a dietitian recently, and we were talking about the different trends. And one of the big disturbing trends was like, whenever you look at tortilla sales across the board, they have started to go down in many communities, particularly in the Latino community. And we were investigating that and looking more and more into it. It's this idea that the foods that we grew up with, the foods that are given to us, are not nutritious. And so people are actually leaving a lot of their like cultural foods because they think that it's not healthy. And so that's such an important part that you don't have to depart from the foods that you grew up eating. We're just talking about preparing them a little bit differently. We don't need to be putting as much oil and butter in these recipes. But by and large, whenever you look at just the base of those ingredients, the base recipes that we have, they are actually nutritious. And so one of my main goals too is not just with the CitySquare, but just what I do every single day is just to show people that, a tweak here and there, and boom, you can still enjoy like your favorite foods. Now, it may not taste the same way to Auntie, when Tia made it, but it's not supposed to. It's just going to give you that essence. And it's just not about trying to sanitize our diets and make them super, super healthy. It is about showing people how to create balance. And whenever you show people how to have balance, then they can eat for a lifetime and not just for the 10 pounds they're trying to lose for spring break.
Yeah, and there tends to be a whole lot of guilt involved in a lot of what it is that we eat. And like you said, the old recipes as well.
Yes. And I'll be the first to admit that was a big issue for me. I think that if you've ever been overweight before and you struggled, with weight and you lost even just 5 pounds, you feel good. But there's a lot of anxiety too, like, I don't want that weight to come back. And now you got that coupled with there's so many mixed messages out there in the media about don't eat this, you can't eat that, oh, you gotta stay away from that. So we have created a culture of fear around food that, I can't blame people, right? And so it's about showing people that, hey, you know what? One meal that's not completely aligned with your wellness goals is not going to undo all your progress. It is the aggregate of all those things.
Absolutely.
So part of the mission and part of my purpose is to actually show people, first off, you got to give yourself grace.
Mm-hmm.
Because the more that you give yourself grace to be like, hey, you know what? I probably shouldn't have gone too hard in the paint with this meal, but it's okay. You know what, Kev? Just keep on going.
I enjoyed it. Let's keep going.
Yeah, and there should be no guilt in that because I think that the food brings us together and it should be enjoyed.
Yeah.
Even The Rock has cheat days.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he goes extreme though. He goes extreme. And I think it's very critical that you're going to be working with multi-generations, right? You're working with adults and with kids. And I was curious, when did your curiosity about food peak for you? Was it as a kid or was it as an adult and you said, wait, now I know better, I'm going to do better? Because teaching kids at a young age, that's crucial.
Right. Mine peaked when I was probably in my early 30s and late 20s. And it was at the height of another big disaster. And that was the financial disaster in 2008. And I found myself pretty depressed on my parents' couch. And I was gaining all this weight. I wasn't feeling good. People were tagging me in these things on Facebook. And this was before they had all the privacy concerns, right? So people tagged you in a photo. It just popped up right there in your feed. And I'm like, yo, I don't like the way that I'm looking. I don't like the way that I'm feeling. And so that literally began my journey. So I went to half price books because I couldn't afford that much. And I just started to sit in half price books literally and read the content. And when I found a book that actually resonated with me, I would take it home. And so I taught myself how to do that because those things were not taught to us. We were taught, especially in the South, especially in the Black and Brown community, we were taught flavor. We were taught how to make it do what it do, but mama didn't know how to
finish your plate.
Exactly, and clear it out because that's the way that we show love. And and this is a really important point, especially for our communities, is that this is not to say that the way that we grew up was bad. And I think that's a really important message, especially for the older generation. It's not that. What we're just trying to do is that we're taking more information of how we can take better care of ourselves, and we're using that to inform the path forward. But this is not to have a complete departure from the way that we grew up. And I underscore that because there are a lot of people just like me and you, we trying to get pops and auntie and tia and abuelita just eating better. And all of a sudden there's this conflict. Why? Because the unspoken conversation is the way that you brought me up was not good enough. And that's not it. We don't want that. We want everybody to adopt this lifestyle. So we've got to move this out of the way and say, hey, you know what? This was fine and this was good. And we're still going to have these meals from time to time, but we're not going to have it every single day. And we're also not going to have these huge portions.
Talk to us about Wellness Wednesday. What do you want to achieve with that event?
For Wellness Wednesday, I just want to first off inspire people and to get them excited about calorie conscious cooking, that we don't have to smother everything in cheese in order for it to taste good. And I also want to show people just like practical things that they already have in their pantry. Very cost sensitive items from the grocery store can transform dishes here and there. And so I want parents to be excited about it. I want kids to feel empowered. We're going to be showing kids how to make some snacks because they're going to be home like during the day. And just showing parents what they can have around, that their kids can walk in there and they can do something, and make themselves something. This is about sustenance, but it's also about nutrition.
No, absolutely. And I think those is also leadership skills for kids, is that when they feel confident that they could do this with the older siblings that are taking care of the younger ones, or the only kids in the home that are taking care of their parents, that they know that they can be comfortable in the kitchen. And it's great to have a male role model as that. That was my last question for you. Your name specifically, Fit Men. Why specifically Fit Men? What does that mean for you?
Well, at the time when I first started this out, it was just, I'll be honest with you, I didn't take too much time to really think about that name, but it was resonating with the fact that like my life began to change when my food began to change and the weight just began to fall off me. It wasn't the running and the lifting weights, it was just the food. And so I was really inspiring men, and the content that was out there at that time, things that really didn't really speak to me, right? But now moving forward in 2023, this is a message that everyone can get behind, that, especially women. I mean, by and large, women grow the FitMenCook community because they're sharing it and tagging their friends and, doing all that. But this is something that I would like everybody to get behind and that they can see themselves in.
Transcending generations, cultures, and any type of social economic barriers here in the Metroplex. That is Kevin Curry with us here on KRLD, who will be teaming up with CitySquare. That is Wednesday, June 14th. Thanks so much for the time.
Thanks so much.